Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lily, where we dive deep into astrology and all things cosmic. So if that sounds good to you, then stay tuned. If you're new to astrology, learning how to read a birth chart can be very overwhelming, but it's a very useful tool for us to understand our personality, our strengths, weaknesses, and so much more. So let's dive right in. So, what is a birth chart? Before we dive into how to read a birth chart, let's begin by defining what a birth chart is. A birth chart is a snapshot of the sky at the moment you were born, where the planets, signs, and houses were located at that very moment. And each planet, sign, and house translates very differently depending on your own unique natal chart, and that reveals a lot about your character and your life's path and journey. In your birth chart, each planet is associated with a specific sign and specific house. And by understanding what the energies of that sign and house carries can give you a lot of insight in different aspects of your life. Now, the planets. Now that we have a basic understanding of what a birth chart is, let's talk about the planets. There are 10 planets in the solar system, and each planet represents its own unique energy and influence in your own unique natal chart. In your birth chart, each planet is associated with a specific sign and specific house. And by understanding what the energies of that sign and house carries can give you a lot of insight in different aspects of your life. I'm going to insert a photo of the planets and what energies and meanings that each planet represent. But to give you an example, let's say the planet Venus. This is the planet of love and beauty and how one would show love depending on their Venus sign. So let's say they have their Venus in Leo. Leo is a very shiny and bright sign who's very charismatic and likes to get attention and display it. So if your Venus is in Leo, it could indicate that, you really like to show your love outwardly. And but when you bring in the component of the houses, that would tweak the meaning a little bit, which we will talk about in a little bit. Okay, let's do another example with the planets. Mars. Mars is a very fiery, passionate, and aggressive planet. And depending on what sign this individual has their Mars in could dictate a lot about how they assert their energy and their drive. So for example, if you have a Mars in Libra, Libras are known to be very fair and diplomatic. They don't really like to argue. So if your Mars is in the sign of Libra, it could indicate somebody who's more passive aggressive, who doesn't like to outwardly argue and just want to compromise. And as I mentioned earlier, when you incorporate the house component, because each house represents an area of life, that changes the meaning as well. The signs. There are 12 zodiac signs in astrology, and each sign represents a different energy and personality trait. In your birth chart, each sign is located in a specific planet, and that can shed light onto understanding how those energies manifest. So let's say you have your moon sign, which is your innermost feelings, how you feel when you're at home, when you're comfortable, in the sign of Pisces. Pisces are more empathetic, they're very compassionate, and sometimes they could have no boundaries. And in contrary, somebody with a moon in Aries, Aries are known to be more fiery, could be a little bit more childlike, and they forget about issues a lot sooner. So understanding how people are wired so differently because of the certain signs and placements that they have. Last but not least, let's talk about the houses. There are 12 houses in the zodiac, and each house represents a different area of your life. I'm going to insert a photo of the houses here and what each house means. In your birth chart, each planet is located in a certain house. And by understanding what the planets mean and what the houses mean, it can bring insight into how that manifests. So for example, if you have the sun, which is your ego and your identity, and as the older you grow, you would identify more with your sun sign. Let's say that's in the 7th house. The 7th house is ruled by Libra. It governs partnerships, relationships. So that means if you have your sun in the 8th house, having one-to-one relationships and partnerships are highly important to you, and more so than other placements. Now let's put it all together. Now that we have an understanding of what a birth chart is, what the planets mean, what the signs mean, and what the houses mean, we can piece all the information that we have together and try to interpret a birth chart. Now, going back to my example with a Venus in Leo, now we're gonna add the 10th house. So as I mentioned earlier, Venus is this planet of love and beauty, and how one shows how they love is in the sign of Leo. So it's very outwardly, they want to show the world who they love, and they're very outward with it. And it's located in the 10th house. The 10th house is your career, your recognition. So this could see that this individual could meet their partner in their career, and it's very recognized by the public, and they're very showy about it. And I wanted to branch off of my example earlier with Mars in Libra, but this time we're going to add the 12th house. And so as I mentioned earlier, Mars is the planet of aggression, could be our sexual energy, and how we go about achieving the things we want is in the sign of Libra, and Libras are very fair and diplomatic. So people with Mars and Libras have a hard time asserting themselves and could be passive aggressive. But when you add the component of the 12th house, the 12th house is kind of like this hidden, repressed energy. It rules dreams or subconscious or mind, also drugs. So when you put it all together, somebody with Mars and Libra in the 12th house could be someone who has difficulty asserting themselves, and they could have very violent thoughts in their head because they can't have a healthy outlet to release it. So there you have it. That's how you read a birth chart. And remember that your birth chart is a very unique reflection of you, and don't be afraid to dive deep to understand and explore yourself further. This will allow you to reach fulfillment and ultimately understanding yourself better. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and like my video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.